What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to be talking about Express.js. Express.js is a fast, unopinionated, minimalist web framework for Node.js. So it's fast, that's pretty easy to understand. It's unopinionated, meaning you can use it for really anything. The web framework doesn't really care. And it's minimalist, meaning that you don't really need a whole lot of code to get you started. So Express.js is used for web applications and APIs. Now the difference between those two is a web app will serve you HTML files, meaning that you can go to /profile and you will see like a interface on the web, and a API primarily serves back data. So you can say /profile and it will actually give you some data back. Now a web app and an API are kind of two separate things. If you're like a big company and you have a lot of users and things like that, you really want to keep those two things separate. You want one system to serve web pages and one system to serve data. But if you're just making a really small application, something for yourself, something that doesn't really require a lot of data, you can actually combine those two things into one. And that's actually what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be starting up an Express.js application. I want to also serve a HTML file so you can see how that works. And then I also want to, from the web page, request data from the API and then do something with that data. So for this example, we're just going to be doing a simple HTML file. It really doesn't matter what front end you're working with, if you're just using HTML or if you're using React or Vue or anything like that. It all works the same. It doesn't matter who requests the data. The API just says, okay, I've gotten a request and we're going to send it back. So enough talk about all that. Let's go to the computer and code some stuff. So we're over here on the computer and I am just at express.js.com, and this is the home page that you come to. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to this getting started up here and go to hello world. Now this is basically just a really simple example of how to get things running. These 7 lines of code here are all you're going to need to start up an Express app. So let's just go ahead and follow the instructions here. So it says first create a directory named my app. So I'll go over, open up VS Code, and what I'm going to do is just open up a folder here real quick. Alright, here we go. So I've opened up a folder and it's called 0104 because that is today's date. So first create a directory named my app. I've named it something else, change to it and run npm init. Okay, so what we need to do is open up a terminal. Now it says change to it in your terminal, but you can see here we are already in our 0104 folder, and then it says change to it and run npm init. Right, so in your terminal here, just run npm init. And what this will do is just walk you through creating a package.json file, which is what you need to start a npm project. So the package name, this is the default here, sure. Version 1, sure. Description, I'll just leave that empty. Entry point, index.js, sure. Test command, I'll just skip past that. Git repository, none. Keywords, none. Author, whatever. The information that you need to get a simple Node project started. Okay, so let's go back to the instructions. Then install Express as a dependency. So the way you do that is write npm install Express. Up here it'll change once this installs fully. So once that installs, you'll see this new section called dependencies, and in it will be Express. So up here you will see a package lock.json file. You can kind of ignore this, and a node modules folder, which basically just holds all the basic packages that are required to run a npm package. So now it says in the my app directory called a file named app.js. Instead of creating a file called app.js, you want to look up here, you want to go to your package.json file and look here at this main parameter. And whatever this is named, you want to create that as your main initial file. So we are going to say new file, index.js. This is just a simple JavaScript file. And then it says, and copy in the code from the example above. Okay, so we're going to copy these 7 lines here, Control C, Control V. And after we do that, it says run the app with the following command, node app.js. Or in our case, node index.js. So that's what I'm going to do, node index.js. and it says example app listening on port 3000, which is right here. Okay, now if we go to port 3000 in our web browser, and you do that by saying localhost 3000, hit enter, it says hello world. Now what that did is it went to this route here. See this route slash is basically just a empty route, so there is no route, it's just 3000. And what it does is it sends back hello world. So if we change this to let me spell this right, YouTube, and hit save. Now because we saved, we need to restart our server. So instead of restarting our server every time we make a change, let's use nodemon index.js. And now every time we save, it will restart for us. So we've updated our app to say hello YouTube when we hit slash. So if we go back here and we refresh, it'll say hello YouTube. So that's the basic syntax you need to add a route to your application. Now let's say you want to add another route, and this route will be called /users, and we will say res.send you've reached /users, and hit save. Our application will restart, and now if we refresh, nothing will happen, nothing will change. But if we go up here and type in /users and hit enter, it'll say you've reached /users. So that's the basics of routing right here. Slash is just empty, so if we remove /users, it'll say hello YouTube, and if we go to /users, it'll send this data. So if you go to this route, you might send a certain HTML file, and if you go to this route, you might send another HTML file. So let's actually go ahead and create a HTML file and then send that HTML file through slash. Okay, so what you first need to do is create a new folder called public, and inside this you want to create a index.html file. Now open this file up, and if you're using VS Code, you can hit ! And then it'll give you these two abbreviations right here. If you click the top one, it'll actually scale out for you a HTML file. And we'll just add in some simple HTML here. Okay, so what I've done is just add a h1 tag and a paragraph tag. Now if you see here, we're still not seeing that HTML file because we are still sending this text. So what we need to do is we need to access this public folder, and inside of it we can then send this index.html file. So what we need to do is use a package called path. So you can say const path equal require path. Okay? And then with path, what you can do is you can say, let's call this index route equals path dot join, and then you can use this variable underscore dir name public slash index.html. Now that we have this index route variable available, you can say res.send file index route and hit save. And then in our browser, we refresh, and there we go, hello world, and then this lorem ipsum text. So that's how you would serve a HTML file. If you wanted to do another one, let's call this users route, and let's say public users.html, and let's just do Control A, Control C, create a new file called users.html, and let's say users. And then all we need to do is use this route here. So instead of here, we say res.send file users route. And if we go back here, /users, there we go. And we see this users tag that we just created here. Now let's say on this users page, you actually wanted to request data from this API that gave you a list of users. So let's just create that now. Let's say users is an array. Okay, so we have 3 users. And what if we want to request this data through a route and then use it in our users.html file? So we can create another route called getUsers, and we can send this variable here, users. So now if we go back to here, and in our browser we can type in get users. Let me blow this up a little bit. You can see that we have retrieved our users, user 1, user 2, user 3. But this really isn't that useful. It's not really doing anything. We're just receiving raw data. So what we want to do is actually go to our HTML file and request that from the HTML file and then use it in the HTML file itself. Okay, so what I've done here is I've just added in a few things to this HTML file. I basically used Axios here, which is a promise-based HTTP client for browser and Node.js, which is exactly what we need. I'll throw this in the description so you guys don't have to go search for it. I used this using CDN, which is basically just a script tag, which gives me this JavaScript file here. And I put that inside the head. And then what I did is I copied this piece here and threw it in another script tag within the body. And I basically said Axios.get users. And then if there was a response, just console log the response. If there was an error, say there was an error. And then when it's all finished, basically say request is finished. Let me create a render function. Now this is much easier in like React and Vue and Angular and things like that. But for this, I'm just gonna write a function that will just render these few users in here. Okay, so what I've done is I've said when you get the response, call this render users function and pass in response.data, which if we look back here, response.data holds our user list. So now we have the users in here, and I've added this tag up here called user block, and I've said let user block equals document.getElement by ID user block. So now we have access to this div tag here. And then I've looped through each of the users, and I've said for each user, create a paragraph tag and set the inner HTML of that paragraph tag to user, which is the name of the user. And then I've appended it to user block. So let's go back to our localhost 3000/users and just go ahead and refresh. And there we go. So user 1, user 2, user 3. Now we can make this list as long as we want. So this is, I don't know, a good 40 lines or something. And then if we refresh, it'll still work the same. So in this case, our user list is dynamic, which is what you want in web development. All right, so we've kind of achieved the goal here. So if you want to just continue messing around with this, I would go back to this web page here. And at the bottom, you can say, next Express generator, and it'll actually go through here, right here. Use the application generator tool, Express generator, to quickly create an application skeleton. So this will actually create for you all these files, and it will kind of help you get started and scaffold a whole project for you. Okay, so I hope that was useful for you guys. Express was actually one of the first technologies I used when I was starting in web development. It was a really great way for me to actually get used to the technologies. I had actually never used JavaScript before, so I was coming into this completely without any knowledge whatsoever. Anyway, Express is a really easy way to get a web app or API started. I hope this was very useful for you guys. I hope you guys use it, follow it, mess around with it, do weird stuff with it, try weird stuff with it, because that's how you learn. Alright, so that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, like, subscribe, post notifications, all that stuff. If you have any questions, throw them down below and I'll get back to you. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.